MHO Talk Show. President Kashanti Barmo and Vice President Joseph Jones, BSA. So what got y'all interested in running for this? Because I know part of your campaign, you guys were big on community, the local community. So it sounded like you see some kind of need as it pertains to particularly Black UVA students, right, and the Black community.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that background.
The Black students really relied on the Black folk in the community in order to find a place that really felt like home, because a lot of the time the university didn't feel like it today. You know, like probably everybody at UVA feels imposter syndrome, but it's, I mean, at least in my experience as a Black student, it can feel a whole lot worse. Because, you know, you don't get to walk around and see a lot of yourself all the time. And so a lot of the times the community can be a way, you know, get off grounds for a little bit. You know,
being a Black student and you choose to come to the university, and I imagine, you know, you go on the tour, you hear about the history, you probably already know about a lot of the history, right? But to that point, though, making that choice to come to UVA, being a Black student, and obviously, you know, having self-respect and, you know, and being pro-Black and proud of who you are, being of African descent as well, you know, that, you know, first generation. Right, American, right. So, you know, you think about all those things. So what was it about UVA that made you feel like this is where I want to, you know, get my higher education? Like, you know, like this is what I'm going to trust, the place I'm going to trust as I enter adulthood, right? Like, what was that decision-making process about you just personally, you know, as a Black college student?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, you know, a lot of students, like, one of the first answers they'll give you is like financial aid. It's an affordable university, and also it's like, I mean, I got in. It's a good school. You know, you have to reckon with the history of this university whenever you go here as a Black student. You have to think about the enslaved laborers who were here. You have to think about the work it took for Black students to be able to attend this university, despite the fact that Black people were working at this university for so long. But I think whenever you take the time to really learn about the history, especially being involved in Black Student Alliance kind of opens that door for you. Whenever you learn about the history of the Black Student Alliance specifically, there was a lot of hard work that was fought by Black students to allow us to be here, and us to be here authentically, us to be here in the way that we choose to present ourselves. And I think once you learn that history, it almost feels like an obligation. I have a responsibility to take up space here, to use that space and to use my energy to really care for the community that, you know, the people who came before me fought so hard to build. And so, yeah, for me, it's really an obligation. And so, like, especially taking a leadership position, I have a responsibility not just to myself, but to the people who I represent to, you know, continue to build that space for the people who are here now and the people who are going to come after me. And, you know, Kishanti has an interesting identity herself, so she could probably speak to some other aspects that I can't speak to.
Definitely want to hear that.
Similar to Joseph, for me, it was on the back end of financial aid. UVA meets 100% of your financial need. So coming here, it was definitely like, okay, like it's a prestigious university, but it's also a very beneficial university to come into, just based on that financial asset. But also, for me, I'm Liberian American. My dad is Liberian, and my mom is African American. And so coming in, I really wanted to explore more of my identity within the university, and there were so many outlets for me to explore that. And so when I first toured UVA, I was able to sit down with some of my Ron Brown Scholar family, and so I was able to tour around, and they really into like all of the opportunity that's available to us at UVA, specifically like the Black Student Alliance and the programming that we have, and also the organization of African students. So melding those two identities together was very important for me. And so going in, I just had the advice from my church choir director, and she told me, like, you and God are the majority. And so you always have to remember that going into spaces like this, even though you may feel like you're the minority and you're not represented, you always have the power within you to feel seen and make your voice heard. And so I really am big on community building, because I know like community has built me up to be the person that I am. So I also want to be a part of like building community for other students, and specifically Black students at UVA.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. We are joined by Kashanti and Joseph, the new pres and VP for the Black Student Alliance.
If you don't mind, Charles,
UVA.
before you ask your next question, what year are you two?
We're 3 years.
Okay. In your experience, have you kind of watched the university become more diverse in the past 3 years in terms of student population? Now the reason why I ask that is because, again, when you talk about placemaking and things like that, but we've had members of the UVA Black Student Alliance on for the past, 4 years, maybe.
3 or 4, yeah.
And each representative says the same thing that you all sit here and say. And so I wonder whether or not the university can do something to help change that dynamic, or will it just always be incumbent upon the Black Student Alliance to create that space and make their minority students feel more welcome and a sense of belonging at the university?
Yeah. I'll start off by saying admissions has always been a contentious issue with the Black community. Even since our founding in 1969, we've been fighting to have more representation of Black students at the university. And so now we're seeing like the number of Black student enrollment dropping now. And so we're really trying to find ways within the Black Student Alliance going into next year to really make sure that we're cementing ourselves and we're making Black students know like we're here to stay. And even when, statistics say that we're underrepresented, we have to make ourselves bold in the programming that we have, and just making sure that we're building community amongst ourselves. So like, yeah, the statistics, are showing that. And we're really also just trying to make sure that we're voicing the concerns of Black students and bringing those concerns to administration as well, because those are the people who are also representing us in larger spaces. So if there is like uncomfortability amongst us, making sure that we're representing that to higher administration.
So is there a certain reason for the drop in enrollment that you've noticed? Is there a resurgence of HBCUs? Is it just like there's other public universities that seem more on par and as attractive as UVA? Is there anything in particular?
I mean, my guess would be personally, I got no data behind this or anything. But the university, considering the shifts politically that have been happening the past several years, federally and then definitely at the state level until recently, just less Black students are attracted to this university, especially seeing what's happening, but also I'm curious if less of them are just being admitted in general, and being offered admission. But speaking to the previous question, I also think, the university could always be doing more for its Black students. I'm not afraid to say that. We technically are represented by the university through student affairs and through OAAA, and OAAA does a great job. But I definitely feel that they're doing a really, really difficult task for a large population of students while also being constrained by the university. So the extent to which the representatives we have from the university are able to care for the Black community here and for the Black students here is constantly an interplay with, the university priorities, which are influenced by the state and influenced by the federal government. And so it also, what the BSA is able to do changes with the administration as well, because, me and Kishanti are taking the presidency and vice presidency at a different time than the people who came before us, Chandler and Zoe, who came in during a very contentious time. Jim Ryan had just recently resigned. There was all of the stuff happening with DEI at that same time. And so, they had to be very strategic about what they were doing whenever they were coming into BSA, how they were going to appear, and still be able to, care for the needs of the students. In some ways, that means you push harder in some areas. In some ways, it means you step back. I think me and Kishanti have taken up the role in kind of a strategic time as well. the board of visitors at the university has changed recently. We have a new governor. We still have, some work to do in terms of how the university is working federally, because, we're still under investigation of a whole bunch of stuff. But, given the conditions at the university, it looks like, at least to me, my idea would be this is the time to start pressing a little bit harder. You can make some more demands right now. You can, these people are going to be a little bit more receptive to you. This is when you make your demands. That's just me.
No, I feel that. So you are. So is there feels like there's an environment or element of hope with change in administration.
Yeah,
I think I kind of heard that in what you were saying. I'm also curious about you talking about going to the Jefferson and meeting elders and just local people in general. And it's kind of pertains to what Max was saying as well. Which is like, what do you feel can be different or can be done different as far as expectation between Charlottesville community and UVA community?
Right. I think for me, and I might get a little bit RC here, I'm an African American Studies major,
okay.
But I think for me, the big thing, especially with the Jefferson School, is really about the culture that exists here. The people that I've spoken to at the Jefferson School, the Jefferson School has a lot of different types of people in there. There's artists, there's historians, like whatever you can think of, there's people there for it that talk about the culture of Charlottesville here. Sometimes as it relates to the university, and in many, many other ways as it relates to the historical and current cultural landscape of Charlottesville. And I think what I want to see from BSA and what I have done previously is really just try to make the cultural production of BSA reflect the Black community as a whole. We had an event recently, which was actually the first event that we have worked on together as the president and vice president-elect, which was just like, it was literally just like a little picnic cookout type vibe on the lawn.
I didn't get an invite.
The tone, at least like here at the university, just like, see what we're going to be able to be working with. This is our first time working with the other exec for other CIOs. And it was like, we had it on the lawn, and like, it just really, I stepped back for a second and I looked out, and it was like, okay, the entire lawn just like looks Black right now. I see picnic blankets, I see dudes throwing footballs, soccer, whatever it is. We got the DJ blasting like, soul R&B type music. And it was like, the lawn is Black. And I was just like, now I just want to turn this out. I want to see, like, we have an event every year, the Black Love Soiree, which is, it's Black students, and it's also, with the Black Charlottesville community. Kishanta can speak better to that than I could, but, it's just, we do a lot within, and I just want to see all that cultural production turn outward.
Yeah,
makes sense. I think something that both of you have done a really good job of articulating is the fact that you acknowledge the value and the prestige of the University of Virginia. You're not dismissing that at all, and I think sometimes individuals get wrapped up and sound like this is some little petty university that they kind of, I don't know, diminish its value in a way. And the truth of the matter is, it is a prestigious university. You've been very good at acknowledging the value of that, but also drawn the parallel or pairing that along with the Black Student Alliance being a resource, and you're kind of carrying that mission forward and liaisoning between the university and the community. So I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate that, because that doesn't always come across in every conversation. And because it doesn't, those naysayers get hung up in the fact that if you didn't want to go there, if you didn't like it, then why go there? Or you're talking about it like it's not this or not that. But you've been very clear that you recognize the value of the university. Yeah.
No, thank you. Just to add on to that, I will say, like, we acknowledge it because we acknowledge that we come from not a direct descendancy, but a descendancy from people who cultivated what we know the university as, enslaved laborers were the people who cultivated what we know and see the university as today. And so we're just trying to represent that legacy through whatever we do. And so the university itself is not defined by like the buildings and the
Right.
architecture, but it's by
Right.
the people who come there. And that's why, again, we really want to not only expand community within the university, but go outside and just act as a liaison for
Right.
students to learn more about opportunity within the community. I know Joseph mentioned like the Black Professional Network and Vinegar Hill Magazine working on the Black Love Soiree, and us having the opportunity to partner with you all last year, and opportunities like that. And moving forward, we want to just continue to work with organizations within the community like BPN, and also like the Jefferson School, because I know there's just a lot of opportunities for us to learn, grow, and become educated on Charlottesville history, and also just become more connected with the community. That's what a lot of students, we've talked to students, and they really want to be more connected with community members, and just learn more about how we can serve, because that's just one of our main goals, is to serve and to be the best stewards of change for our community. And so, you know, that's just what I wanted to say, bouncing off that.
Yeah. How many, out of the history of this organization, do you have many, or do they have many previous Black female presidents? Are you one of a few, or?
There's been a lot.
Oh, there's been a lot. Okay.
And so when you go down, Professor Caldrina Harold has the BSA files.
Okay.
And so if you go on her blog, you can see like different records of the Black Student Alliance and its history, and you can see the names. And as I went down, I was like, wow, there's a lot of women here. But yeah, so it's been like that. And Jane Madison and Tyler English, they were presidents for the 2024 to 2025 school year. And so we were trying to like bring that back, like the women, the man, vice president, president, vice president. Yeah.
Makes sense. We are talking to Keishanti Barmo and Joseph Jones, the new president VP for the Black Student Alliance at the University of Virginia. Now, I got somewhat of $1 million question for y'all, because I see both of y'all are African and African American studies scholars, let's say, right? So when you think about the history of UVA, because I imagine this came up in conversations as well, it's top of mind for a lot of locals. What does the university owe to the community, in your opinion, right? And you can take that reparation direction, you can take that, you know, more general like community direction, you know, community investment. It could be apologies, you know, whatever. I'm curious what you all think when you look at that, because I gotta imagine that has come up, you know, when you've spoken with elders, you've spoken with folks at the Jefferson.
Yeah, I would like to say all of the above. I think what I'm reminded of right now is in 2017, whenever the Black Student Alliance released like I think 12 points, I believe, just demands of the university to the Black community within and outside of the university, so including the community. And one of the points in there that whenever I had read over it and I was thinking about was, there was a point that just said, pay every single UVA worker a living wage. And when you think about the staff and the workers at the university who are not the professors, you're looking, at least from what I've seen, at a very Black local community of people from Charlottesville who are being paid less than a living wage. And I like to imagine, what would it look like if you paid every single one of those people, some of them coming from the same household, a living wage? How much money that the university has is going to be going into the community in that way? How is that going to change real estate? How is that going to change money that's going into programs for local Charlottesville people, specifically Black folks? I think there's a lot of way the university could have gone about it and has not. That I would like to see, me personally, I would like to see reparations for. I would like to see apologies for. I would like to see policy changes for, because, and especially as a Black student, I have no qualm saying this, because I am fully aware of the fact that historically Black students at this university have relied on the Black community in Charlottesville. I am fully aware of the fact that the more that goes into the Black community of Charlottesville, the more is going to go into the Black students, and the more the Black students are want to be are going to want to desire to be a part of that community.
Yeah.
And understand that historical connection.
Yeah. Mr. Mack, you know what's interesting about that? He mentioned 2017 when a lot of the living wage push was happening. That's a forgotten part of 2017 because we think about, A12, and the neo-Nazis and the tiki torches, right? But Joseph brought that to my remembrance, though. It's like it was a heavy push before those things happened, and it just makes me think: could it be once again that the powers that be use the rest of us against each other? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the folks at top of the quote unquote food chain, like the top earners, once you talk about empowering, economically empowering poor people, that's a threat to the structure. So my brain just goes there. Like that kind of got forgotten about, the whole living wage push.
I think with the university, just the past history with Black Charlottesville and the university and its dark past and things like that, I will say that although the university has made strides to commemorate and recognize Black enslaved laborers and commemorating the history of displacement, I think one thing that I've come to terms with is the fact that we as a Black community have to understand that with universities, policies, programs shift with the climate and what is acceptable. And so we can't really have an expectation of the university to do what we want them to do, and to remember us and to recognize the things that were done to the Black community. And so for me, I do think that the university should do more strides to recognize like the displaced communities like Canada. And, there are certain memorials that are there, like for the first Black landowner, Miss Foster, Catherine Foster, but it's not really seen within the South Lawn area. And I think that those things should be more prevalent. However, I think it's up to the Black community to make space and prove that we have the wherewithal to create programming within ourselves to make sure that we're seeing ourselves, because we know that if the university isn't consistent, we can be consistent in ourselves, and doing things to make sure that we're empowering ourselves, and also doing things to recognize the great things that are happening within Black Charlottesville. And so those are the things that we're coming in with, just making sure that we're doing what we can to recognize Black students, recognize Black history, and just move continuously with respectful recognition, but also just, innovating as we move on through the school year.
Yeah. And back to your point, Charles, it's an age-old strategy, right? You overshadow something, especially those things that you aren't in favor of, with the next biggest thing, with the next news cycle, the next big event or what have you, until, if you don't have it directly in front of people, then it's, with our attention span, it's easy for us to forget. And definitely August 2017, there was a lot going on, and enough for us to put that to the back of their minds. Loss of life and different things like that was happening. So, so back to the mission, I guess, of the BSA. You all act as an advisory body to, or correct me if I'm wrong, to, I don't know, the board, president, the whoever. How does that work?
Yeah. So we serve as an umbrella organization for all Black students, and all Black organizations, rather. And so with BSA, we act to articulate and voice the concerns and problems of Black students. And along with that, we serve as a liaison, and as mentioned before, between Black students, faculty, alumni, and the Charlottesville community. So along with that, we also advocate against unjust policies within the university as well, that affect our community. But essentially, the Black Student Alliance, again, serves as a representative organization over different Black organizations. And then also we work with different advisory boards and councils to make sure that we're representing Black student concerns to them as well.
And then they push that up the chain of command, I guess. Yeah.
So we are in constant meetings with the board of visitors, different departments within student affairs, faculty alike, just to make sure that we're representing Black student concerns. And we also have the Black President's Council. So the Black Student Alliance is a part of the Black President's Council. So we're actively working to make sure that we are in constant communication and organization with Black student organizations to like create programming and represent the unified needs of Black students.
Okay, and I was just pushing on an answer for that, just to try to understand whether or not you're just spinning your wheels, really. You know, you talk to this person, you talk to that person, and nothing really comes out of, you know, so,
So you guys, so, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you guys are like the advocates for the group. So, so just generally speaking, I'll give you a scenario. So if any sort of student group, right, has, say, like an issue, like an administrative issue, right, and they need representation, like would they then petition BSA to explain what's happening, and then you all would decide, okay, well, we'll take this up the ladder for you. Is that a good scenario? Or
I would say in terms of Black student concerns, it depends on where it's being channeled from. So if there's an issue with administration, typically different, like for example, there was issues with the dissolving of DEI. And so we were in spaces or as the Black Student Alliance representing Black students. And so usually when there is a need for Black students to be represented, the Black Student Alliance is called upon. However, if there's a need for like more information from like the top down, from like the Board of Visitors on down, usually we are, you know, asked, okay, do you have information on this or this policy or program? But if not, we are actively like collaborating with different representatives to make sure that we're like channeling from the right place, because not all the time information is given to us directly, but just making sure that we're actively representing those concerns as an organization, because again, we are like an umbrella org representing all Black students. So I would say that is an answer to that question.
makes sense. Thank you for that.
To your best of your knowledge, does the BSA have a position on student housing? That's obviously a very big issue here in the city, and the off-ground housing and how it takes away from the local, from the residents of the community, and the affordability of the student housing and how tall it is and what neighborhood it's located in and so on and so forth. And, you know, those individuals that do show up, students at the university who show up at council meetings and things like that and speak out against it. But I'm just curious about what the BSA may be saying or thinking about this, if there's a position at all.
Yeah. We do, like, sometimes we do got to be like a little bit careful about like our positions, because we are a nonpartisan organization. But one of the first things that we do every single semester is we collaborate with a like huge list of other organizations at the university for something we call Diseducation Week, in which we partner with Friends of FAR, who is a public housing organization. And we go through all of a diseducation of the university, and a large part of that is
debunking myths.
Exactly. And a large part of that is discussing the relationship that the university has with the community, often in times that are harmful, especially in terms of real estate and housing. So NBSA partners on that, so that since we can't take an official position on it, we're at least going to make sure that people are educated on this subject, because you can't argue with the fact. So if we're not going to take an official position on it, we're at least going to make sure people are educated on the subject. And, you know, we have our personal opinions on it. Like, I will say that I do believe that the university has a predatory relationship with the Charlottesville community, especially in terms of housing and real estate. Can BSA say that and issue it in a statement? Probably not.
Right. I feel you.
And when it comes to, just when it comes to the Black Student Alliance, like Joseph said, we do release statements. And really when we release statements, we're talking about how like the predatory nature of something happening in the university or out in the community is truly like impacting citizens or community members. And so we really make sure, and we're going to make sure going into next year that we're really amplifying the concerns and the situations that are happening in the community, so people are aware and aware of, the housing crisis and the things that are happening out in the community, because we do want to make sure that we're aware community members as well, because we're students, but we're also a part of the community. So that's just to add on to it.
Yeah. So, so as we, draw near to a close here, let's talk about legacy, if that's cool, Max. Because as Max stated earlier, a lot of what you're saying, is familiar, right? And once again, props to you all for taking the stand that you're taking and being so reputable, of your classmates. And so when you think about legacy, right? When you think about how what you want the university and the city of Charlottesville's relationship to look like at the end of your term. And, and of course, I get like both y'all are third year, so that's a relatively short-term goal. You know what I mean? Relatively. But just legacy. Like, what do you want people to remember, the Barmo Jones?
I'll start by saying that legacy to me is truly understanding why you're there and why your impact is so needed. And so for us, our legacy going into next year and what we want it to look like is something that is representative of the needs of all Black students. One thing that we ran on was unifying the Black community and unifying us outwardly with the Black community in Charlottesville. And so one of our goals is to start a mentorship program with Black professionals in Charlottesville, because again, as mentioned, Black students truly want to be connected. And so I know there's already programming like Working Wednesdays with BPN, and then also there's series with the Jefferson School and other community organizations. And we really want to work outwardly to make sure that we are sourcing programming and connecting us as a student body with those programs. So like carpooling, doing practical things to make sure that we're understanding the opportunities that are out there, but also understanding the need for us to serve the Charlottesville community, because we don't want to extract and not put anything into the Charlottesville community. And so that's one of the main points that we're hoping to leave on, the student community, just the drive to serve and the need to take up space. And then also, I would say in terms of engagement with the community, we also just want to make sure that we are providing, again, just a positive representation of ourselves. And so helping the Charlottesville community to see that we truly do want to be an aid, and we truly do want to represent their needs as well in whatever capacity that may be. So, being in constant communication with Black community members is another thing that we're really trying to leave on our, Black Student Alliance legacy.
Thank you. Joseph?
I would say, I think my takeaway or my idea about legacy, that the main idea that I want to leave here kind of ties into what Keishanti was saying. And I think it starts with how the Black Student Alliance, what's the message that we want to give the students? What do we want to leave with them knowing? And for me, I don't want there to be a question about if Black people belong at this university. Whenever I leave, I want everybody who might have been involved in BSA, who might have been to an event, who just heard about what BSA was doing, is to understand that as Black folks, this university does belong to us. As much as it belongs to every single other person who goes to this university, who doesn't have to question whether or not they belong at this university or if this university belongs to them. This university does belong to the Black community members here. It belongs to the people who used to live at Vinegar Hill. It belongs to the Black people who live in Charlottesville in general. It belongs to the Black students who have passed through this university. It belongs to the enslaved laborers who helped build this university. I don't want it to be a question anymore. Do I belong at this university? Students should be able to come here and say, this university belongs to me. Black community members should be able to see the UVA and say that belongs to me. I should have a say in the policies that this university has. I should have a say in the policies that the city has about the real estate that this university has. I have a say about the pay that the workers who live in this community get at that university owes something to me. And like that's the message I want to leave with people, because people come here and they feel like they don't belong. And the question becomes, do I belong at this university? And then the answer to that question is, yes, I do belong at that university. I want you to go one step further and say that this university belongs to you.
Right. Love it. Nice, man. One thing y'all did bring to my mind too is when I think about the Board of Visitors, because I know a lot of people are probably listening and they're like, oh, but us that really know how the university work, if you're not, if you don't have the ear of the Board of Visitors, then it's just falling on deaf ears, right? So I'm kind of curious as, like how do you combat that? Like, when you're talking about serious issues, right, the students really are facing, and you may have some naysayers that think change won't really happen because you still got powers that be. And I heard you mention change in our state administration and stuff like that. But how do you tackle that though? Like when we're talking about some real serious institutional change needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say that we, as a student body, are intrinsically connected to the Board of Visitors. We have a student representative on the BOV. Now, he is non-voting. There's another faculty member who is non-voting, but we do have representation in that way. And so because there are representatives that are intrinsically connected to the student body, we have a voice and a say. And so we as student leaders are making sure that we're in constant communication with not only those representatives, but also just the rector and the vice rector as well, and all of the BOV representation in whatever capacity that we can be in communication with them. So it's like communication can be accessible, but it's about channeling that in the right way and seeing what best would produce change in the fastest way possible. So if it means like advocating to the student representative at the time and talking to him about the problems and the issues, and also just the desires of Black students, talking to him about that. And also if there's, larger scale issues that need to be addressed, setting up meetings with the BOV and talking about those things. And also working with different departments under the BOV, because certain issues can be addressed with departments like student affairs. And we are in constant, relationship with administration as well within student affairs. I know Dean Enoch. I talked to her. We have the Dean of Students, Dean Hall. We have the Vice President of Equal or Community Engagement and Equal Opportunity, Dr. McDonald. So we have a lot of representation, and also Black representation that we can tap into as well if we need help and assistance in understanding how to best tackle issues. But yeah, just tackling whatever needs to be addressed in like the best channels that we see fit at the time.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Go ahead if you have something to add.
I would also just say, like, you got to come at it from two directions. You can go at it like you can go straight to the board. You can communicate with the board, but also what you can do what BSA has been doing and just try to increase that. It's just there's resources that we have as BSA, and as just a large populace of Black students, we can get things done on our own. We can establish mentorship networks to make sure Black students are getting into the careers that they need. We can have social events that don't rely on, the Board of Visitors and all that. Yeah. We could, we have our own production that we can do outside of the Board of Visitors, as well as going straight to the Board of Visitors to make sure that the needs and concerns of Black students are met.
That has the potential to be powerful beyond what you all may even be imagining. Because think about just a Black child that lives in the city of Charlottesville and may have heard generationally, and even when they're out in public, they feel like it's a whole nother world there on grounds.
Right.
And then for you all to show up and be mentors and be like, like for them to see themselves in you all, I think that could be powerful beyond measure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all that we have. I want to thank Kishanti and Joseph for joining us today. It was a great conversation. Thank you for taking on this responsibility, and we obviously wish you well and are glad to have you back here on the show anytime to talk about different events and activities that you have going on. I guess I'll just end this conversation by saying that Joseph touched on something really when he talked about legacy that I really think that people need to grasp, and it requires a level of deeper thinking, if you will. But when you talk about belonging, an individual determining whether or not they belong at a university, they belong to the university, and then shifting that mindset to the university belongs to me changes everything.
Yep.
And especially when we're talking about our Black, and I'll even include minority students there. You know, when you belong to something, you are at its disposal. It tells you how to move. It tells you how to think. It tells you how to speak. It tells you how to act. But when it belongs to you, it then becomes a tool for you, and you dictate how you want to use it for your good and for the good of those around you. So I just want to thank you for that. Very insightful.
So continue success, y'all. Till next time. Hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on.